Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my first ever episode of What I Watched. So I used to include what I watched in wrap-ups, and then I started a new series called The Bright Side where I would include it there, but it ended up just getting to be like too much to talk about everything in one video, and then even the Bright Side videos were a lot because I didn't only talk about TV shows and movies, I also talked about like video games and board games and favorite things of the month, and it just ended up being like a lot and like really long to edit. So I'm going to try separating these out into videos where I'm only talking about what I watched, and I think that I'm going to do them quarterly, so I'll do like one per season. So it's been like a long time since I have done a wrap up of what I've watched, so I'm really just going to be covering like most of the summer season, but I might have like a thing or two in there that I did watch earlier in the year just because I do want to talk about it because they were probably really good. We'll just get right into it. So I'm going to start with TV shows. So first, Andrew and I have been watching Deep Space Nine. As you guys know, we watched all of Star Trek The Next Generation last year. I just completely fell in love with it. We like binged that series so hard. It was amazing. Then we tried watching Star Trek the original series. It ended up being a little bit too campy for my tastes. I did like some episodes, but it was kind of like a struggle to really get invested in it. So we ended up watching like a lot of the first season, but then I was like, would you mind if we just kind of stopped and like just started watching Deep Space Nine, because I feel like I'll like that better. So that's what we did. And I am really enjoying it. I think that it had a little bit of a rocky start in my personal opinion. I wasn't like immediately invested in it or in the characters, and there were like, it was kind of hard to choose a favorite in the beginning, but I do feel like comfortable with them now, and I really like a lot of the characters. Like some of the characters that I didn't like in the beginning have actually grown on me. The first season, might have been the first two seasons, I like really did not like Kira. She just like, I don't know, I just like did not like her. And now in season 4, she's not my favorite, but she's definitely tolerable, and I actually do like her as a character now. I think Odo and Dax are definitely my favorites if I absolutely had to choose of like the main cast, because if we're not talking main cast, I love the Cardassians. I don't know why, but like I find all of the storylines with the Cardassians to be the most compelling. I really like them. I think they're so interesting. I love Garrick. I love Gal Dukat. If they just like could be on every episode, I think that this would be like a new favorite for me, but sadly they're not. I'm not as invested in things that go on with the Bajorans. I've always found them to be like a little bit boring. They're like very religious, and I just never like got into them, but I really love the Cardassians, and now there is a whole thing happening with the Klingons, which is kind of interesting. And actually Worf from The Next Generation has joined the cast of Deep Space Nine, so he's been with us since the beginning of season 4. I don't feel like he has fully integrated yet in a way that really works. I'm hopeful that as we keep watching, he'll feel like he should belong there. I think we have 5 or 6 episodes left of season 4, and then we'll head into season 5 and 6 and 7 and finish out the series. So that is a little Star Trek update for you. Then I watched Cruel Summer. I loved this show. It was so good. It kind of like filled the void of that like Pretty Little Liars, Perfectionists kind of show that I tend to really like watching. It was on Freeform. I felt like, I mean, especially the actress who played Kate, she was great. Like I was actually surprised at the quality of acting and the quality of the story. It was really interesting. There are definitely trigger warnings for people. So basically there is this girl named Kate who is like the most popular girl in school, and she just goes missing. And then we're also following a girl named Jeanette. And Jeanette is really unpopular, like really uncomfortable in her own skin. And we're following both of them in 3 different timelines. So the 3 years we see, I think it's like 1994, 1995, and 1996, which also was a plus. I loved that it took place during the 90s. In 94, Jeanette is like super unpopular and like obviously really wants to be popular. Then in 95, we see that she like suddenly is one of the most popular girls in school. She's basically like taken over the position of this girl who has gone missing. And then in 96, she's obviously had some hardship befall her and she like cut off all of her hair. She's antisocial. She's very cynical and she's just like sitting kind of home alone. And you find out what happened like as the episodes progress. You get some episodes that are from Jeanette's point of view and some episodes that are from Kate's point of view. I was like so compelled. My friend Cassie and I would try to watch like the night that it came out and then we would talk to each other about what was going on and our theories. So good. They actually do give you trigger warnings for everything at the beginning of the episodes, so you will know like beforehand what to kind of expect. But I just loved it. I thought it was really, really well done and I believe it's actually gotten renewed, so there is going to be a second season of it, though I think that they'll probably have to follow like another storyline because this one was pretty concretely wrapped up. Then I watched the 7th season of Younger. I love the show Younger. I really love Hilary Duff and I also really love Sutton Foster. So I've been watching the show like since the beginning and it takes place at a publisher in New York City. So it has like a lot of things that just like pique my interest. However, I hated the series finale. The 7th season was kind of like and then the last episode I was like, this just destroyed everything for me. I like hated the last episode. I was so upset with how it went. I was so upset with what they did with my ship, the male character that I really liked. They kind of like progressively like ruined him over the season and he was just like doing things that didn't seem true to his character like at all. Not happy. Did not like it. Still mad. Sometimes Andrew will like bring it up and it just I'm like, why did you do this? I hate it. Then we watched season 1 of Keenan, which is a new sitcom on NBC. I think we streamed it on Hulu. It was either Hulu or Peacock. I can't remember. But it stars Keenan Thompson, who I absolutely love. I've been watching Keenan since his days on All That, and then Keenan and Kel, and then obviously Saturday Night Live. I think he's like one of the people that's been on Saturday Night Live the longest. He is so good at improv and comedy. This was obviously a scripted show, so it was a little bit different, but I so enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. Keenan plays a father he has like 2 daughters and he lost his wife, so he's kind of like struggling. He's still like grieving over that loss, but he is now like trying to be a single dad. And then Chris Redd, who is also on Saturday Night Live, is on the show and he plays his brother, so he's like kind of there to help out, but he's like not that helpful. And then Keenan's father-in-law is also there to help out, and it's just really funny. Like, it's a really fun family sitcom. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of heartwarming moments. It definitely like got me upset during some episodes, but overall like it was so funny and I really hope that it gets renewed for a second season. Then I watched seasons 1, 2, and 3 of The Circle on Netflix. I just like got addicted to it. I think it is so fascinating. I love the premise. It's a reality show, so I love the premise of all of these people having to communicate with each other, like based solely on their like circle profiles. The Circle is basically like a social media experiment of sorts. There are people that are catfish, and obviously the audience is clued into what's going on the whole time, but you end up like really rooting for some people, and I was very surprised with the winner of the first season. I was so glad that the person that I wanted to win most for the second season won, and now I'm just like anxiously awaiting the finale of the third one. There are 2 people that I really want to win, and then there are 2 people I really want to win, a third person that I would be really glad if they won, and then 2 people where I'm like, it would be fine, but they're not my top choice. So I'm hoping that the finale will go the way that I want it. I just think that it's so good. And it's also like really interesting because in the first season, it felt like everyone was like so nice to each other and no one was really like kind of backstabby. And you could tell like that people would get really distraught over having to vote people out of the circle. But then in the second season, people were definitely a lot more strategic. There were some people that were still like pretty genuine, but then there were others that were like game players. And now in this third season, I feel like everyone is like brutal. Like everyone is in it for the money. So it was kind of a little bit more challenging to find people that I really liked in the third season, though I do have like a couple that I think are like genuinely good people and I really do want them to win. But it was still like entertaining the whole time. I just have gotten like so invested in the show and I hope that there are more seasons soon. I think it probably was like really easy to film it during quarantine because people are by themselves in a room. It's not like people are interacting, with the exception of obviously like cameramen and producers. I couldn't believe that a new season came out so soon, and I obviously watched that right away. Oh my gosh. Then I watched Mayor of Easttown on HBO Max. That was incredible. Mayor of Easttown is a show that takes place in like a very small town in Pennsylvania, and there is a teenage girl who gets murdered, and the rest of the series is Mare, who's played by Kate Winslet. She is a detective. She's trying to solve this murder. And then you also see like how it's affected all of these people who live in this small town together. And it was just like incredible. Like probably one of the best things that I've ever watched. It's definitely one of my favorite shows of the year. I was so invested in it, and it was like I kind of want to watch it again because I feel like I'll pick up on even more than I did the first time around. There's so many like twists and turns and it really hooks you. I really loved it. And Saturday Night Live actually did a skit where they made fun of it. It was called, their show was called Murder Dirter. And oh my gosh, if you watch Mayor of Easttown and then watch that Saturday Night Live skit, you will die laughing. So good. Then we watched The Bad Batch Season 1 on Disney+. This was a Star Wars animated show. It was a spin-off from Clone Wars following the Bad Batch of stormtroopers that we met in the final season of Clone Wars. I actually really liked it. So I went in with very low expectations because the storylines that focus on the clone troopers have never been my favorite in Clone Wars. So I was like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about this, but the clones in the Bad Batch all did really grow on me, and they all are very different and have like very distinct personalities. And I did really like their storyline. I thought it was really interesting, and I'm so looking forward to the second season of Bad Batch now. I think like the end of the first season was like very exciting and it was very cool. And it was also really nice to meet Omega, who is a new character within the series. And I also really liked getting to see more of the Kaminoans. I thought that was really interesting. It was good. Then we watched Never Have I Ever Season 2. This was on Netflix and we binge watched the first series in like one night. And I was so excited when the second series came out. I also really loved it, although Devi is kind of like getting on my nerves because she is going after the wrong guy. She should be with the other guy. So just putting that out there, but it's so funny. It's a sitcom. I believe don't know if it's written by Mindy Kaling, but Mindy Kaling is definitely like involved in it if she didn't write it herself. I mean, I'm sure there are other writers too, but I think she's like very heavily involved. So it's Mindy humor. It's amazing. It's so easy to watch. And this season especially, I really loved Davy's cousin, Kamala. She is so good. Like she gets this job working in a lab and she gets mistreated because she's a female and she has to do all of these things to try to like fit in with these guys, and she's just like so awesome. And I also really love Davy's mom. I think she's incredible too. Like it just has so many strong women in it and it's so enjoyable. Her friend group too. I love her friends. Davy makes terrible decisions all the time, but it's still like really heartwarming. Okay, so then I tried watching the first season of the new Gossip Girl and I really didn't like it. It like hurts me to say it, but it was just not for me. Like I think I watched 4 episodes and every single time that I had a new episode, I would be like, ugh, I have to watch the new episode of Gossip Girl. Like I was not looking forward to it ever. I just didn't connect for me. I think it was made for like a different audience. Like I love OG Gossip Girl. Blair Waldorf would have died if she would have seen this new season, if she would have seen what Constance Spilliard has become. I think like part of it is because it is very heavy on like the influencer aspect, and I think it kind of took away from the story. I don't know. I just thought the first series like worked so much better. I thought that they wore cool clothes and I thought that they took some interesting risks, but overall, it just wasn't for me. Okay, then another show that I can't even believe I'm gonna say it, but it disappointed me, was the first season of Loki on Disney+. This was the first Marvel property that I felt like really let me down. I obviously love Marvel. I've been reading the comics since I was a kid. I've been watching the movies as they've come out. I've been so excited to see like Marvel superheroes that I never thought the average person would know become household names, but Loki just didn't do it for me. Loki is one of my favorite characters. I love him so much in the Thor movies. I love him in the Avengers movies, but I think he just like didn't work that well as a main character. It was kind of, I don't know, it was just like kind of tough. I thought that the concept was great, and I really liked Owen Wilson's character. I also really liked the like female Loki character, and it kind of had like Doctor Who vibes. It was like kind of like old sci-fi-y kind of, but it just like, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. I just wasn't like that invested in it, and I thought that it was going to end up being one of my favorite series, and it just wasn't, which is so sad. Though there was that like very cool reveal at the end, and that was like super awesome, but it didn't make up for the rest of the series in my opinion. Then I've mentioned it several times, but we've also been watching Only Murders in the Building. We are up to date on it, so there's not too much longer before we should find out the ending, but I am just loving this show. It is so good. I've talked about it in like numerous videos, but it's amazing. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez are so good, and there are so many other like famous people that we get cameos from, and it's just been so much fun. I love that it takes place in New York City. I love that it takes place in this building that I have always wanted to see. It's just so good. It's a murder mystery, but it's also has like a lot of humor and a lot of heart. Then we watched the final season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I would say this was a really excellent season too. I think they really like did well sending the show off. It's sad to see it go, but it kind of like does feel like it's time. It's been on the air for so long, but I did really like the characters, and I was so glad that the final episode was a heist episode. Those have been some of my favorites consistently over the seasons, and I just love Captain Holt so much. He is the best. Then we've also been watching What We Do in the Shadows season 4. This is another one of my favorite shows. I'm so glad that it's back. We've been watching every Friday when the new episode comes to Hulu. I think we're like 4 episodes into the season now, and it's definitely a really strong season. I'm really enjoying it. I love all of the vampires. Nadia, Nandor, and Laszlo are amazing, but then obviously Guillermo is the absolute best. There was an episode where they went to Atlantic City, and that I think was probably my favorite episode of the season so far. I'm just so glad that this show exists. It's like everything. Oh, I guess I can't forget Colin Robinson, but he's like, I don't care about him. And then last in the TV show list is Over the Garden Wall, which I've talked about the show so many times on my channel. Over the Garden Wall is my favorite animated show ever to exist. Andrew and I rewatched the whole series on my birthday with my sister-in-laws, and then we also rewatched it again recently while we were putting up our fall decorations in its entirety. So I've now rewatched Over the Garden Wall twice this year, and it's only the end of September, so I wouldn't be surprised if we watch it again. But it's following these 2 brothers who are in the woods, and they're lost, and they're trying to find their way home, and there's this like threat of the beast coming and finding them, and they just meet like all of these interesting characters along the way, and has really good music. Has like an old-timey feel. Elijah Wood plays the main character. It also has Tim Curry and so many amazing voice actors. It's phenomenal. Best show ever. Watch it. Okay, and then moving on to movies. I don't tend to watch that many movies, so I only have 4 movies to talk about. Actually, I have 5. I'm just realizing now, like, I forgot to put Black Widow on my list. Well, why don't we start there? I loved the Black Widow movie. It was so good. I had really low expectations for it. I didn't think that I was going to love it. I felt like, Andrew and I both really felt like it should have come out a long time ago, and I think it would have probably been better if it came out a long time ago. However, Florence Pugh just like stole the show. She was amazing. I'm so glad that she's going to be in the MCU now. I thought that the movie was so funny, and it also did have a lot of heart. I really liked the found family aspect, and it was nice to see more of like Natasha's roots and her backstory and get more familiar with her origin on film. I thought it was so good. Like, I really was not expecting to love it as much as I did, but it was great. I also watched My Cousin Vinny for the first time ever. Andrew's family and my family have been telling me that I need to watch it for the longest time, so we all ended up watching it together and I thought it was so funny. I was laughing like the whole time. It's just one of those movies that I like had never seen and I should have. Like, there's no reason that I shouldn't have watched it yet. It's so funny. Okay, so we're following these two boys who get into trouble. They end up getting in trouble for killing the clerk in like a convenience store, even though it wasn't them. They get arrested in this like very small town. I want to say it's like Alabama or something. They end up calling, like one of the guys is like, oh, my cousin is a lawyer, my cousin Vinny. So he calls his cousin and his cousin comes down to take their case and it's his first case. And he is like Brooklyn, New York, Italian man. So funny, so out of place in this little town. He comes down with his girlfriend, Marissa Tomei, who is phenomenal, and he tries to prove that these boys are innocent, and it is wildly entertaining. Then I read the Beautiful Creatures book series, all 4 of them over the past 2 years, and I really wanted to rewatch the movie. I watched the movie in theaters when it came out with my friends Melissa and Jill. I remember loving the movie and thinking that it was so great, but at that point I hadn't read any of the books, so I wanted to watch it again now that I have read them, and man, it did not hold up. It was not a good movie, and I made Andrew watch it with me. He like wasn't 100% paying attention, and it was funny, like he had all of these questions and I would be like I can't even answer because they're just doing things so differently. I thought that there were parts of it that were fun, but overall it was like so not what I thought that it was going to be, or like it just I don't know, my memory, like I'm either questioning my taste or like I don't know, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. They like eliminated a whole character from it. Ridley was like nothing like I pictured. I do love Macon. I don't really have many positive things to say about this film, unfortunately. And then lastly, I also finally watched the Crazy Rich Asians movie. I had never seen it before. I read the first 2 books. I still have to read the 3rd book, and I had kind of been waiting until I finished the series before I watched the movie, but then I was like, you know what? It's on HBO. Let's just watch it. So we watched it and both of us ended up loving it. I thought it was so great. They definitely did change things a little bit, but I felt like it worked really well anyway. And I really liked Rachel's friends in Singapore when she went to visit. They were like such a fun family. And yeah, it was just like so entertaining. I really hope that they make a second one. I would love to watch that. I feel like I heard that they were at some point, but like I haven't heard anything about it in a while, so I'm not really certain what's going on there. I thought it was great. I thought it was so funny. I really loved it. And now I also like really want to read the 3rd book, which I should do anyway so that I can finish that series. So that's it. Those are all the things that I have to talk about that I have watched in the past bunch of months. But now I'm going to start keeping track on a quarterly basis so that I can update you guys. I hope that you enjoy this. I know I love storytelling in like any way, shape, or form. So whether it's books, movies, television, games, I just can't get enough. So I thought it'd be fun to share again the things that I watch. I know that a lot of you guys would comment on it in past videos, so I think that this will be a better way to engage by having like its own kind of thing. So let me know if you have watched anything that I mentioned, and that is all that I have for this video, so I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!